Okay, we need to also look at the budgeting process and the advantages and shortcomings, the purpose of a cash budget, and the impact of budgeted surpluses and shortfalls. Part of your cash budget is preparing a receivables collection schedule. This is the difficult one. This is the one we have to understand. We have to be able to draw up a receivables collection schedule and understand the logic of it. And then the rest of the cash budget, if you can get the receivables collection schedule, is easy, okay? We need to also look at how budgeting fits into the overall framework for decision making, and what is the link between budgeting and marketing, budgeting and retail. So that's what I want you to be thinking of. What is the link there? Budgeting is a very important part of retail and marketing. Right, I think Wikipedia is quite a good resource, okay? Especially if you guys are marketing guys, it's a good idea to know what people out there are saying budgeting is, okay? So we're first looking at strategic planning, and it's a process of defining the company's strategy or direction and making decisions. So budgeting is part of the strategic planning of the business. The strategic planning is done by the management, and then it's implemented by the lower management. So the senior management have the strategic plan and the vision and the direction for the business, and then the management implement the budgets that come out of that. Okay, so I'm going to look at the planning process for you here. So you first undertake an analysis, see where you are as a company, what are your strategic options, what are your long-term strategic plans. It's very important in business today not to suffer from what we call short-termism. A lot of accountants suffer from short-termism. They're looking at the profit in this year, and this year, and this year, okay? It's very important for businesses to be sustainable. Okay, so we now have something called the triple bottom line, which is the environmental impact and the impact on staff and things, as well as the financial impact. So we are now looking at business in a much broader sense than we did in the past. We're not just looking at business as making profit, we're looking at business as being sustainable within a community, creating employment, not impacting negatively on the environment. Okay, so once we've done all of this, we prepare the budget. So the budgets come out of the strategic plans of the business, and once we've got the bigger budgets, we then look at the smaller budgets, and once we have actually performed, we compare the budget to the performance in order to plan the budget for the next period and the next period. Next week we're going to look at flexible budgeting. That fits in over here. At the moment this week we're going to be looking at preparing the budgets at that level. Okay, so and then we would revise our plans if we wanted to. So management are responsible for all stages of the planning process, and the management accountants do the bigger strategic planning and then implement the decision-making process, and budgeting is part of the decision-making process. I love this. The budget tells us what we can't afford, but it doesn't stop us from buying it. My son would say that applies to me. Okay, so budgeting is part of planning. So you don't do budgeting after the fact, you do budgeting before the fact as part of your planning for the future of the business. Can you afford to stay in business? Can you afford to continue to employ the people you're employing? Do you need to employ more people? Can you afford to employ more people? Can you expand into Angola or Mozambique or Botswana, whatever the case might be? Okay, so our budgets are based on estimates and on past experience. And of course, this is my favorite story here. It's not only big companies, listed companies that have to prepare budgets. The university has a budget, our department has a budget, your church has a budget, your sports club has a budget. All the schools have to have a budget. So budgeting is something that is done. Non-profit organizations, I was asked today to prepare a budget for 2019 for a non-profit. Okay. Or municipalities, they need to budget, don't they? That's really important. Hey. And government organizations. So the purpose of budgeting, is to be able to coordinate all the activities of the organization and then to allocate the funding according to the activities within the business. Okay, so it centralizes controls for decentralized activities. So the big budget puts the big picture together, and then each separate division is allocated their budgets, and then the management within that division is responsible for that particular budget. It helps management allocate resources to where they need it most, in the most efficient way. And it's a standard against which the results are compared. So this is what we planned, what actually happened. Okay, are we on plan, or did we overspend, or did we underspend? What is going on? Okay, so this is your picture, which I actually have on the handout as well. It gives you an idea of how everything fits together. The first lecture example we're going to do is up here. We're going to be looking at preparing the production budget. The reason I want to do this example in a lot of detail is that I think it was lecture example 3 when we looked at the different cost drivers driving the allocation of costs to the products, and a lot of you struggled with that. So this is actually a good example of how that is applied in practice. So here's a budget, a production budget, and we're using different cost drivers to do that. So it's like a revision of that unit as well. Okay, and then we're going to spend the rest of the lecture looking at cash budgets and preparing cash budgets. But this at least gives you the big picture. Everything begins with the sales budget until you know, and that's where you guys are involved, marketing and retail. You'll be drawing up the sales budget, and from the sales budget, the production budget will be created, and from the sales budget, the cash budget will be created. All right, so the master budget, which is, I haven't got a master budget in this one. Okay, master budget in the next slide. Okay, it looks at both operating decisions and financing decisions. So operating decisions, you must be able to tell me what these are. What is the difference between an operating decision and a financing decision? An operating decision is concerned with, these are the resources the business has, how best can we use these resources to generate profit? Or these are the resources the department in the university has, how best can we allocate these resources to service our clients? And then the financing decisions is, okay, we need more of this, or we need another that, or whatever. What is the best way to finance that? So do we have a share issue in order to do that? Do we go to the bank and borrow money? Do we find money from another source? So that's the financing decision, has to do with where we get the funds from in order to expand the business or keep the business running. And the operating decision has to do with how we can use the resources that the entity has. Okay, so the master budget has to combine all the operating finance elements into one. Here's your picture of how everything fits together. Okay, these are your operating budget, your trade receivables, that's your cash budget there. So from there we've got your sales budget. This is the first example that we're going to be doing. Okay, production budget. So the production budget, you saw in the picture that the first thing we look at is the sales budget. Once we know how much we need to sell, we can then decide how much we need to produce. So how much we produce is driven by how much we can sell, not the other way around, because there's no sense in producing 100,000 pairs of jeans if you can only sell 1,000. All right, so the sales budget drives all the other budgets. So the production budget comes from the sales budget. It uses the expected sales volume to decide how much we need to produce. Okay, so we have to make sure that supply will meet demand. We haven't produced too few, but we also don't want to overproduce and not be able to sell them. Right, so we have to make sure that the minimum resources are used to produce the products. Right, we've spoken about just in time, and that happens when you make your inventory just in time to be able to sell it. Remember we spoke about it earlier in the year, right? So we also need to look at optimum efficiency for the company in terms of deciding the volumes and the quantities of the different items that we're producing. Okay, we're going to do this lecture example now. So this you already have in front of you. So this is the sales budget, right? It also shows you how the sales budget ties in with the production budget. This is what we intend to sell. and this is the price we intend to sell it at. So if we sell these at this price, then this will be 1,404,000 Rand would be our total sales revenue. Okay, so from here, we're going to create the production budget. What we need to be able to do to create the production budget, we need to know how much stock we already have. Because if we already have 600 four-seater tables, we don't need to produce any, not so. But if we've got 50, then we need to produce 450 to sell 500. Except that we want to have some stock left over, don't we? Because let's say that the 31st of December is our year end, we want to be able to sell in January as well. We won't want to have run out of stock, and you know that the factory's closed between December and January. Okay, so this is our opening inventory and this is our closing inventory for these 4 products. So we've got a 4-seater table, a 6-seater table, a 10-seater table, and then based on these tables, we've got 620 chairs that we want to sell as well. And we need to now calculate the total unit production to be used for the production budget. So if we have an opening inventory of this and a closing inventory of this, how many do we need to produce during the year? So I've given you a template there that you can look at. So the first thing you're going to do is put in your planned sales for each item, which you get from the first slide that you've got there, okay, the planned sales, and then you're going to add in your closing inventory. So this is a bit counterintuitive, okay? You want to have your sales plus your closing inventory, so you're going to add those together, but you've already got your opening inventory, so you're going to subtract your opening inventory. So it's the opposite from a cost of sales calculation, okay? We add in closing inventory and subtracting opening inventory because we want to know how much we have to produce. That's why I want you to do this now so that you make a mistake and don't make a mistake in the test. Okay? So now I want you to put in your planned sales. We're looking at how many units we have to produce. Right? You've got the planned sales in front of you. You've got the closing inventory. You can add them up. You're going to subtract the opening inventory and work out how many of each we need to produce. We plan to sell 500 of the one, 400 of the other, 200 of the other, 6,400 chairs. We add the closing inventory. That tells us that we require 550 because we want to have what we're going to sell plus the closing inventory. But we've already got 40 in stock, so we only need to produce 510. Does that make sense? There we want to sell 400, we've got 40 in stock. We need a 40 closing inventory. That means we need a total of 440, but we've already got 30, so we need to produce 410, and on it goes, okay? So that is absolutely straightforward. It's what you do with that after that. So this has got a second phase to it, okay? Now, you've got to do the production budget for the year. Now, I've given you the 10-seater tables and the chairs, but you can do this production budget for all of them. But we're going to look at doing it for the 10-seater tables and the chairs. So we know from here that we need to produce 210 10-seater tables. Do you agree? And we need to produce 6,600 chairs. So I just need to tell you to prepare the production budget from this, okay? So you know the quantity that you need to produce for the 10-seater tables is 210, and the quantity you need to produce for chairs is 6,600. Now we need to go through all the different components of the tables and the chairs and allocate the cost for these different components to production based on the cost drivers. Okay, so the first one, each table takes 20 hours and labor is 10 Rand an hour. So for the tables here, our direct labor is going to be 210 times 10 Rand times 20, because each unit is 20 hours. And then we're going to do the chairs one based on the 4 hours. Then the direct materials is the cost per meter squared, okay? So now you're going to say 210 units. Each unit uses variable at 15 Rand. Oh, this shouldn't be an R, it should be 5 square meters. And this is 1 square meter, okay? I must just change that. So the tables are 5 meters per table. And the chairs are 1 meter per table. So it's 210 times 15 times 5 for the tables, okay? Do you understand the change? Okay, this is 5 meters, this is 2 meters. I must make the change. Okay, I'm going to make the change now. Then the electricity that you're putting in is a variable cost that we're adding to the budget at 2 Rand per labor hour. Okay, so here we have to take the 2 Rand per labor hour and multiply by 210 units that we plan to make, and how many labor hours per table? 20. Can you see that? Okay, so you need to refer back to the labor hours that you're given here, right? And then this one is 29,700. Is the rent is a fixed amount, but it's being apportioned based on total labor hours of 39,600, okay? So you need to work out of this total labor hours of 39,600 for these 2 items, how many belong to the 10-seater tables and how many belong to the chairs. So it's the same basis as saying it's 29,700 based on labor hours, okay? So for example, do you understand what to do here? You're going to take the cost of 29,700. Okay, you're going to divide it by the 39,600 labor hours. Then you've got a rate per labor hour. Okay? These tables use 20 labor hours times 210. So 4,200 labor hours. 20 is 4,200. Okay? Because it's 210 units at 20 hours a unit. 210 times 20 is 4,200 if I'm correct.
Yes.
Okay, so you're going to split it based on that. Okay? And then here, the same thing. This is also based on labor hours, right? And this is fixed at 100 Rand per month per item produced. So here it's going to be 210 times 100. Okay, so the direct labor here must be, it always starts with the number of units, 210 units, times how much an hour? 10 Rand an hour. Times how many hours? 20 hours. So this 42,000 is 210 times 10 Rand times 20. This one here is 6,600 times 10 Rand times 4. Okay? This 15,750 starts with 210 units times 15 Rand per square meter times 5 meters per unit. This one, 99,000, is 6,600 times 15 Rand a square meter, and then multiply by 1. Okay. Now, the electricity is based on the labor hours. So now you must take 2,200 times 2 Rand times 20 for this one. Say again? Sorry, did I say 210? 210 times 2 Rand times 20. Okay? And this one here is 6,600 times 2 Rand times 4. Okay? Then the factory rent, you take your 29,700 divided by 39,600, you get 75 cents factory rent per labor hour. Now you must take 210 units times 20 Rand times 75 cents gives you 3,150. 6,600 times 75 cents times 4 hours gives you 19,800. You do this one in the same way, 13,200 divided by 39,600, and you do 210 times 20 times whatever answer you got there. This one is 6,600 times 4 times whatever answer you got there. Here's how you get your direct materials budget, how you get your direct labor budget. Okay, so it gets broken down from here, all right? And that's your direct material. I'm going to leave you to read this because we must get on to the cash budget. Okay, so there's your production budget. From that you get your direct materials budget, your direct labor budget, your manufacturing overheads budget, and from there you plan your cash budget. But you can't plan your cash budget without your sales budget. So you've got to know your sales budget as well. Okay, so and then this is all your costs. Okay. And that is your sales. So this is your expenses in your cash budget, your cash out, and this is your cash in. And what we need to do now is work out the cash in component of the budget. Okay, so we're going to do that. So the cash budget looks at your cash in, your cash receipt, your cash out, okay? And it combines information from all the other budgets and it gives you a quantitative picture, a picture in rands on what cash you plan, you anticipate having in the business, okay? It's really important. Some of the best businesses in the world have had to discontinue trading because of cash flow. So cash flow is really important, okay? On the 25th of the month, you have to pay your staff. You have to have the money in the bank to pay your staff. If you can't, you're going to end up in trouble, okay? If you can't pay your rent, you're going to be evicted from your factory or whatever. So cash management is really an important part of the planning of any business, okay? So the cash budget helps management decide if they've got sufficient cash, what they need to address. How do they provide for shortages? Can they borrow money? What do they have to do? If they borrow money, can they afford to pay the interest on the money they borrow? Because that has an impact on their cash flow as well. Because now they've got to pay the interest. Okay. Are they going to borrow from management? Are they going to borrow from shareholders? Are they going to issue new shares? They're going to borrow from banks? What are they going to do? Okay. So we've got one figure here. We've got this figure here. Now we must fill in the September credit sales in October. Okay? So in October, who from September is going to pay you in October? It says 50% pay in the first month following their purchase. That means that 50% of the people who bought in September are going to pay in October. Do you agree?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to take the September figure, 310,000, times 50%, and those are the people that bought in September that are going to pay in October. So here, under your workings, is 310,000 times 50%. It all goes under October. We're looking at the October cash inflow. We're looking at the money we're going to get in October. 30% of the people pay in the second month. So are August people going to pay in October? August, September, October? Yes. 30% of the people who bought in August are going to pay in October. So here, under August credit sales, here for October, you're going to write 275,000 times 30%. That's who is going to pay from August in October. Are any people from July going to pay in October? No. Okay? Because we're only looking, and every different company has a different pattern of payment of their debtors. So therefore, every question that you get is going to be different in relation to the pattern of payment. Okay? Once you have worked out what happens here in terms of your calculations, you can go and try and do November. M0, M1, M2, M3. And M0, how many, what percentage? 20. October in October, 20% of the people who bought in October pay in October and get a 10% discount. So here, you must put in 20% of October's amount times 90%, okay? For September, 50% of the people who bought in September pay in October. So we're looking at the cash we're getting in October. So 50% of the people who bought in September are going to pay you in October. You're going to get their money in. And 30% of the people who bought in August are going to pay in October. You're going to get their money in October. Can you see, once you've got this here, it's a knock-on. The 30% goes down a month to September. The 50% goes down a month to October. The 20% times 90% goes down a month to November. So once you've got this first lot sorted, you actually are okay. Have you all written these formula in? Marty, have you written this in? Have you written these formula in? You're okay. Okay, so these should be your amounts. 82,500 plus 155,000 plus 58,500 will give you a total of 296,000 are the cash receipts that you're going to get from your credit customers in October. Okay? And then here in November, 314,900 is the cash you're going to get in from your credit customers in November. The first one asks you, 2.1, for the receivables collection schedule. That is only to do with your customers, your trade receivables, okay? Question 2.2 is asking you for your cash receipts section. That's the whole cash receipt section. So your receivables collection totals must be put in there, as well as your cash sales, as well as any other cash receipts. In this lecture example 2, there are no other cash receipts, but there are cash sales. So your totals from here must go in there, and your cash sales must go in there. So you need to have a look at October cash sales and November cash sales. Can you see the 355,000 and the 360,000? Those must go in there as well. So fill these in quickly. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 figures to fill in, and then add them up. You put your 296,000, your 314,000, you put in your 355,000, your 360,000, and you got your total. Okay, and then you do that, you add it up, and then you've done your receivable collection, your total receivables, cash receipt section. Okay, and there are only 3 sections to your cash budget: your cash receipts, your cash payments, and your totals. Okay. Who do we pay money to? We pay money to suppliers, but we don't also buy everything on cash, do we? So we've got a problem when it comes to suppliers. How do we pay our suppliers? So we can have a similar thing to the receivables collection schedule in relation to payments. We have to watch out for that. How do we pay our suppliers? Okay? We also buy material cash. Employees' wages and salaries are always cash. So September happens in September. You don't tell your employees, oh, sorry, in September I'll pay you in November. It doesn't work like that, okay? Petty cash is cash. The rent, the electricity, the rates, all of those must be paid as the invoices come in. Interest must be paid every month. Taxes are normally something that you pay twice a year. So watch out for something like this. You have to find out exactly what period you're paying them in, okay? These are things that happen every month, but are not necessarily the same every month, okay? We all hope we get a little bonus in December. So normally if there's a December, the amounts will be different, okay? Loan repayments, you know, if you borrow money from the bank, you have to pay it back at a certain amount every month, okay? We might buy fixed assets. A company might need to buy new machinery. So any of these will involve cash going out. Okay, so we need to be very careful when it comes to that. So this is the next section of the same cash budget. We're now doing the cash payments. Okay, so these are the different things that we buy. All right, so petty cash happens as petty cash happens. The other purchases are purchased on account and are paid in full in the month following purchase. So in other words, this wood that we bought in September for 80,000, we're going to pay in October. This screws and nails, 3,000 in September, we're going to pay in October. Okay, but But the August purchases we've already paid in September. Remember, we are doing October and November cash out. So we have to look at how all this information you've been given impacts on money going out in October, money going out in November. Right, so these ones are quite straightforward. 90,000 from October is going to go into November. November's 110,000 we can ignore because we're going to pay it in December. Okay, in addition to these petty cash purchases, they draw an additional 1,000 petty cash every month, so that must also be going up, right? Salaries and wages are 122,000 a month, rent is 16,000 a month, electricity is 2,200. You see, look at this. All staff are given a 13th check at the end of November. So for October, your salaries and wages are going to be 152,000, but for November, it's going to be 244,000. Okay? And you must now prepare the cash payment section, and this is your October, and that's your November, and I've given you the structure so that you can work on it. The 1,000 Rand gave you 4,600. This was 4,000 plus 1,000 gave you 5,000. The payments to creditors, this was the September purchases of 83,000, and this is the October purchases of 94,000. How did I get that? I added the 80 plus the 383, the 90 plus the 494. Okay? And then the salaries is 122,000 for October. I said the 13th check is like 100% bonus, so it's 244,000. The rent, 16,000, the electricity, 2,200. So you can see in a question like this, there are always easier marks and more difficult marks. Get the easy marks and try and get the more difficult ones too. So your total payments are 227,800 for October and 361,200 for November. Okay. They paid the 80,000 plus the 3,000, the 83,000. Okay, and in November, they paid the 90 plus the 494. There's the 83, there's the 94. Okay. Okay, the November petty cash was the purchases for November of 4,000 plus the 1,000. General petty cash is 5,000. Right. So now, we've got to look at the closing balances, okay? So we take the total receipts, subtract the total payments, we get the net cash flow for the period. You will always be given the open, this is not related to the question you've just done, this is just a separate example. You've got your opening balance, so if you take your opening balance of the bank, plus your cash inflow for the period, you get your closing balance. Your closing balance from that period becomes your opening balance for the next period, plus your cash inflow becomes your closing balance. So now we're going to do it for the example that we've just done, okay? So from lecture example 2, you're going to put in the total cash receipts for October and November as a plus. And from lecture example 3, you're going to put the total payments as a minus. Because the receipts are cash in, the payments are cash out. Then you're going to take that minus that and get your surplus or shortfall for the period. I've told you that the opening balance of bank they plan to have, because remember the budgeting is always planning for the future. So it hasn't happened yet. They anticipate they're going to have an opening balance in bank of 120,000. So you put the 120,000 Rand in there, add that plus that to get that closing balance. That closing balance becomes that opening balance, add that plus that to get that closing balance. 151,000. Your cash receipts for November, did these numbers change? No. Were 674,900. Your payments for October were 227,800. Your payments for November were 361,200. And I've told you that your opening balance is 120,000. So these you've already got. Okay? So you take that minus that gives you that. You add that plus that to give you that. That minus that gives you that. That closing balance becomes November's opening balance, not so? That plus that gives you that. Purchase 156,900. Did you get it? Fantastic. Okay, lecture example 5. All right, so this is a different format of the same thing. I prefer this format because I like to start with my opening balance and end with my closing balance, okay? And so the other way is to do like lecture example 1, lecture example 2, lecture example 3. Lecture example 2, 3, and 4, where you do it like this, okay? I prefer to have my opening balance there, plus all my receipts gives me my total cash available, minus all my payments gives me my closing balance, okay? It's exactly the same. This is just a consolidated picture of what you did in lecture example 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, you've got the same closing balance there, 856,900 as you have there. Okay, so when I get asked to do a cash budget, that's how I do it. Okay, but you can do it either way. Either way will be marked. Either way is correct, not incorrect. Okay. Any questions? Okay. I think I'm going to leave you to just work through the rest of the slides and to do lecture example 5, which is coming up now. Okay. So lecture example 5 is on the last page, and it's quite a detailed example. I would suggest you go through lecture example 2, 3, and 4, and then try and do lecture example 5 on your own, and then look at the slides and see how you managed. Okay, and I'm only a WhatsApp message away. Good luck for Thursday.